You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin on the SEC Coaches Teleconference on Wednesday, as were all the coaches in the league. But they kind of updated preparation up until this point of the week for the game Saturday in Oxford. Here was Brian Kelly on going on the road again for the Tigers. This will be the second time in 3 weeks, and of course he'll be back on the road next week against Missouri.
It's much more about us in terms of the details and playing with that focus for 4 quarters. And as I said, you go on the road, you need a good team to go on the road with, and you have to have a mature team. And that's the challenge for our team, is to play with a lot more maturity, a lot more smarts. If we do that, we feel like we've made the progress necessary to go down and play in Oxford, Mississippi, which is a very difficult place to play. Lane is an outstanding football coach, and he'll have his team ready to play. They're coming off of a loss. So anytime you're doing that, you're getting a team that's very angry and hungry, so we'll have to match that and play with a great competitive edge.
Tigers, of course, played one true road game this year. It was the 41-14 win over Mississippi State. The Florida State game was a neutral game, but it was a partisan Florida State crowd. I'll remind you, last year in conference road games, LSU won at Auburn 21-17. They won at Florida 45-35, where they faced adversity in both those games. They won at Arkansas 13-10, and we know they lost the Texas A&M game. But LSU won 3 of its 4 road conference games a year ago, and in all 3 of them, they faced adversity. They were down to Auburn. The scoop and score at the end of the first half really kick-started them. They were down against Florida, and then the offense caught fire, and they ended up kind of blitzkrieging them there. Big day from Jaden Daniels with 349 passing. The Arkansas game, we remember what happened the week after Alabama. It was cold. There was no KJ Jefferson. The offense was just stuck in a rut all day, but they found a way to win. My point is, Brian Kelly in his true road conference games was 3-1 last year, and he's beaten Mississippi State. He's 4-1 on the road in the league. The only loss was laying an egg on the road against Texas A&M a year ago when you had still everything to play for in that moment. But I guess I look at it and I go, man, Kelly's message is clearly permeated that locker room when they go on the road. His processes of getting these guys ready to go on the road and play have taken, because it's hard to argue with the results in conference. As for Lane Kiffin, here's what he had to say about this week of practice so far for the Rebs.
It's been great. Guys are locked in, focused on a huge game, big rivalry around here. And, when that last time they were here, we won, and it was exciting. So trying to do the same thing again.
Our buddy Hunt Palmer, who is on before us here in Baton Rouge, tweeted earlier today, and I think this is maybe the best way that I've heard Lane Kiffin on the teleconference described. Hunt's tweet was, "That's the first time I've heard Lane Kiffin on the SEC teleconference. He sounds like he'd rather eat a box of rubber bands than take these questions." That's pretty good. Muse, you got to listen to it and cut all this audio. That's pretty apropos.
Yeah, there are coaches that don't want to be there, and then there's Lane Kiffin. It is a far end of the spectrum there when the Lane train gets on the teleconference.
Well, for Brian Kelly, he was asked about some of the coverage busts, and one of the things that he was talking about on Monday, obviously, is correcting the fundamentals. And one of the plays he pointed out was the Zy Alexander bust. And that's why, if there's a reason I'm optimistic about this defense, we shared a little bit a day ago, which is, I think, first of all, LSU's defensive front 7 matches up really well against Ole Miss. Their offensive line, Ole Miss's offensive line has really struggled to help generate a running game and to protect Jackson Dart. But so I like LSU's defensive front 7 against Ole Miss this week. The other part is what we saw week 1 against Florida State is not fixable. When Keon Coleman mosses your defensive backs, when their guy is just better, there's nothing you could do about that. Watching the Arkansas freshman tight end have a record day and Zy Alexander leaving him when he goes downfield for a 59-yard touchdown, those things are correctable. And so Brian Kelly and LSU clearly are working on those issues in zone coverage this week.
We're talking about fundamentals of alignment, starting there. And we've had many alignment issues relative to leverage, assignment, and tackling. We're talking about fundamentals that are taught from day one in Pop Warner, high school, to college. And so, these kids come in with a number of different techniques. They're allowed to do a lot of different things and freelance. We're trying to get them to be fundamentally sound, and we're working towards that end.
This would be a great test because one thing Lane Kiffin is masterful at is scheming an offense. I will go so far as to say LSU is going to trail within the first 5 minutes of this game. The first time Ole Miss has the football, they're going to score points because Lane is brilliant at diagramming and sketching out the first, scripting the first 10, 15 plays, whatever it is, based on what you've shown on film. And LSU has shown a propensity to get beaten in zone concepts, and Lane's going to take advantage of that. How LSU adjusts during the game, I think, is going to be key, just like they did a year ago. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.